last week, barely there. Joe Biden thought that the state of Arizona is a wonderful city. Another awkward moment today in his media blitz, including another interview cut short by one of his handlers because he can't handle it. Take a look.
So I'm confused who I'm talking to here, but anyway, whoever it is, and I had a nurse nurses at Walter Reed Hospital who would bend down and whisper in my ear. Wow. And go home and get me pillows. They would make sure they'd actually, probably nothing ever taught in, you can't do it in the COVID time, but they'd actually breathe in my nostrils to make me move. Wearing a mask is not a political statement. This is more patriotic. Why do you wear the mask? So you don't make somebody else sick. Sick. What's with this guy?
Dude, that's our time. Okay. All right. I appreciate you, man.
Is up. If anyone can interpret that mess, go right ahead. Now, beyond, he was tired. It was time for his nappy. Anyway, beyond Biden's blunders, the contrast between the president, his vision, his stamina, his strength, his mental alertness, and his passion for American prosperity versus quid pro quo Joe's, well, his vision, police of the enemy, Bernie Sanders, Bolshevik Bernie's economic plan, AOC, her new Green Deal plan, Beto Bozo O'Rourke's confiscation of guns plan, and Pelosi and Schumer. Wow, a vote for Biden is a vote for Bernie and every extreme radical socialist and agenda item ever proposed. Law, order, peace, prosperity, security, safety, it's all on the ballot in just 104 days where you become the ultimate jury. Joining us now to break it all down, Fox News contributor, we call him the architect, Carl Rove. All right, Carl, I need an interpreter. Can you interpret what that is? And they just fade to black now. Joe's losing it. Sorry, we are out of time. You're out.
Yeah. Mr. Fine, I was taken to this week with his appearance on Joy Reid's new MSNBC program. He was her inaugural guest. She immediately gives him a chance, says, what do you think of President Trump handling coronavirus? He begins to pummel him for a few moments. So she then, which she lets him go. So that's what she wants him to do. And then she turns to him and says, well, look, if you're elected, then the pandemic's probably still raging. So walk us through, she says, walk us through what you would do differently next year. He then makes 7 statements. Every one of the recommendations that he's going to do next year is already being done. He says, I've been talking about the Defense Production Act. Well, President Trump used that in March. He says we need to have everybody wear masks. Well, the CDC and the White House Coronavirus Task Force recommended that months ago. He said, we need to make sure that businesses continue to be able to stay alive. Well, that's called the CARES Act, and it has over nearly $900 billion in forgivable loans to small businesses. We need to make sure that nobody, he says, who has COVID, has to pay for it. Well, the president already did that months ago. And he said, we need to have somebody in command right now in order to oversee the production and distribution of the vaccine. Well, that person's already in place. It is a general who's the head of the Army Military Command, Materials Command, and President Trump appointed him on May 15th to do exactly that job. He says, and we need to spend $25 billion to do that. Well, Congress appropriated $10 billion, and the Department of Health and Human Services has found billions more, and they're spending it. And if they need more, they're going to get more from Congress. But and here it is, he's given a great opportunity. Tell us what you do differently, and all 7 things that he lays out are things that the administration has exactly done. Can't the guy come up with one new idea? Just one new idea. That'd be all we'd ask for.
He also is against the travel ban 10 days after the first identified case. Also against the subsequent travel ban. Also against the quarantines. Countless hundreds of thousands of Americans, like they didn't contract the virus because of it. It gave us time to build the PPE that we needed and the ventilators. And Donald Trump did all that. And he did it against the recommendations of many. Those 3 decisions right there, he was against. They saved lives.
Well, we've seen Biden before. We see him a lot of places. We see him you know, we've had an emergency in our town, and somebody says, well, you know, if I'd been in charge, here's what I would have done. Or somebody, you know, we have a big controversy, you know, if I'd been the guy in charge, let me tell you how I'd done it differently. And you can't do it. Just go look at the read thing. Better yet, read my column tomorrow morning where I lay it out with what he says and what was already done. And it's just amazing to me. Is this the best the guy can do? I mean, I think what has happened in that basement is that he's gotten lazy, mentally lazy, and so he thinks he can get away with this because he goes on places like Joy Reid and he doesn't get challenged. Let him get in front of a real journalist and let's see how well he handles it. What if somebody said, well, wait a minute, all those things have already been done. What I ask you, what differently would you do? You haven't suggested anything different, and let's see how he'd answer that. But he's getting away with murder right now, and it's going to be a mistake for him because he can't keep this up for the other 104 days left in the campaign.
Would he get away with trying to duck debates?
No. If he or President Trump said, I'm not showing up at those debates, they would go down. There's no doubt about it. American people expect them to show up for 3 debates. The president, president's got to be careful because Biden did take care of Paul Ryan and took care of Sarah Palin in the vice presidential debates in 08 and in 12. But he's got to show up for him, and that's going to be a real. I think the climactic moment of this campaign, the debates are more important than they've ever been since at least 1980.
All right, the architect, Carl Rove, thank you. When we come back,